All right, folks. Hey, good morning. Welcome on back here this Wednesday, November 19th. Great to have all of our students and members alike back inside our live trading room here. Margaret, Grant, Rich, Michael, got Uday, Nabil, Roberto, Bill, Chuck, all of us just joining us here. Once again, inside our live trading room, get the webcam back up for you folks there. But all of us though otherwise on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, etc., popping up lower left, right behind, or right in front of me, as I like to say. If you're not subscribed or followed along to our YouTube or social media, the Twitter, the X, the whatever, just down below, just hit that follow or subscribe down there. At cybertradingu is our handle, at least. We go live every morning, every afternoon, Monday to Friday, at least, not the weekends. But I'll tell you what, this is a very interesting moment right out the gate here for this TGT trade target. So, our students inside our live trading room, that what we were just calling out a moment ago on this trade. And I think for right now, we still see it out there. Yeah, it's still out there, about 256,000 shares out there on the buy side on the bid at 85.30. So that's even showing just on the Nasdaq book viewer program. That's just, traditional level 3. And you could see right there, yep, it's about 12 people that make that, order up in total. How about this? Could I get this here? I always mix this up. I always mess this part up. Yeah, so check this. This is actually one order entirely. 12 people make up the conglomerate of all of this put together, but you could see that there's one separate person out there that has 254,784 shares. So pretty interesting to see that out there just on the level 3. Now, if we were to see that on level 4, I didn't even load up Bookmap yet. I was juggling a few things early, but Nasdaq Book Viewer comes first. We teach that inside our Phase 1 stock course. Then otherwise, obviously, just showing here, if it's on Book Viewer, it's going to be on Bookmap. It's going to be on the level 4 out there too. So Target came off bad earnings. I think they even cut their guidance as well going into rest of the fiscal year. That's not much left, but that could be going into the beginning of 26 as well. So going into the open, this could be a great short if this order gets broken through. You'd figure, wow, this is pretty big. It should look to hold, right? 256,000, 250,000 shares. I got my phone out here right now. I'm not texting my buddy Robbie right now. I'm going to be on the calculator. $85.33 a share times 256,604 shares. It's about $22 million worth of money, right? So yeah, it's pretty big. You'd figure that's so big that it should hold at first, at the first test of it. And it came down to it shortly after 8 o'clock. So it's not the first time it's nipping and testing this level. But the key is with Target, though, going into the open, that's not just an iceberg. That's big enough and important enough for us to focus on. But I think that's pretty much the bottom back from 1010, back from October 10th when the whole market crapped back down. So with that, if it breaks that bottom there, your next support, I don't think is until like 79, maybe $80 on the chart. Fausto would do a pretty good job at this himself here right now. So yeah, basically around 79-ish, $80, whatever that is right there. But going into the open, we're going to absolutely put this on our watch list for right now. I think the whole market's kind of waiting on Nvidia for their earnings to come out. That's later on this afternoon. So keep that in mind. Big Nvidia day coming out just after the close. So we'll see the numbers. Then we'll hear from Jensen as far as just his remarks. What's ahead going into 26? What's ahead for the next few years perhaps ahead. So with how big Nvidia, how much Nvidia takes up within the S&P, more traders are focused on that than they are on Target. Target's big, Walmart's big, any of those big companies, they'll be fun to trade. Like Target, we have on our watch list going into the open today. But I think Nvidia takes up like 7, 8, maybe I think at one point it was double digits percentage of the overall S&P market cap. That's pretty crazy, right? So this might be a slower day today altogether. Yesterday was dry. I mean, we don't really have too many of these days, but maybe like a small handful across the calendar year. You have these super dry days across the whole market. You had a couple like pops, couple moves here and there. Don't get me wrong. EPSF finally broke out into the early afternoon, though. This was a crawler beforehand. So if you were able to get a bounce, a quick dip entry, you were able to ride it out easier. But the better move was heading into the early afternoon, shortly after 12 o'clock Eastern. Broke higher from there, ran up a bit. I thought this would have done a lot more because, I mean, you don't want to get your hopes up, right? But I was more hopeful at first because this stock in particular has like 22 out of 24 red daily candles. That's insane. Like my favorite sports team, I don't think could ever do that as bad as the New York Giants are. You know what I mean? So it's just who knows, maybe actually. No, it's just to say though that EPSM, for as much as it dropped even from $40 plus down to sub two, it was moving up yesterday. We called it out early on. We are hopeful for a better short squeeze than we really got. But you know what? Hey, it's like actually still kind of near the highs a little bit. It's technically down 5%. But if you're looking at this just from the beginning of this week to now, from yesterday morning to now, this is still kind of holding afloat, isn't it? So does it hurt for us to put this back on our list? Not necessarily. I mean, I'll add it for right now, but I want to see if there's better trades going into the open today. OLMA, this was a casino stock, up more in pre-market, crap back down after the market opened up. We were looking for a lower dip point here, so we never really got this bottom at the time. We thought it would go down more. So just kind of fizzled out from there. That was it. Not really too much to write home on that one, just aside from the pre-market spike. Hey, our bread was buttered here on this trade, though, too. It just took a while, as I'd said, for this to make its better move. It popped out the gate right away at 9:30. So we wait the first 5 minutes, right? So if you wait the first 5 minutes, you're pretty much missing most of this. Kind of stinks to say because you would expect more going into 10:30 time. Well, you got more, but it was like squeezing like barely anything out there. So it was tough to expect continuation afterwards. But it went all the way back up. It broke higher, made the much better move heading into 12:30. Again, like early afternoon, that was our better time there. Beautiful run. It's actually close towards yesterday's highs once again. Actually, this one I will add, the ONDS as well. This one we do very well on, though. Anytime it moves, anytime it's in the news, something's coming out on it. Made a big run for us back going into the summer, obviously. And, if it wants to push back up, I would love to see it. Just the only thing here for this morning, we called this out yesterday, in fact. We had a resistance here pretty much around 815, 816-ish, 820-ish there. So going into the open, I'm certain that's going to be resistance once more. All right. What else we got? What else did we have from yesterday? So we had a few good longs. The Netflix trade was all right. Small little squeeze up there. And that's kind of it. BTQ, yeah, this one was all right too. Low volume though, so it had a bit of a spread at times. The order book was a bit thin at times, but ended up making a nice squeeze up higher. It had one shakedown here going into 2 o'clock, but recovered. I'm not as likely to put this on our main list yet, even though it's actually positive. Just for right now, though, we're not as familiar with this stock comparative to the Yondis. Even the EPSM, I'm a little skeptical of putting that on our list. Again, just like today's not necessarily like a stock, like a federal holiday where the markets are closed, but it's almost like people are kind of waiting, right? So I treat it a little bit like a holiday. Be more patient. Wait for things to come to you. Have things fall in your lap. Something like this needs to prove itself a bit more for me. I'm just not as familiar with the stock. So for right now, we got a few good trades to work with going into the open. We also had, a couple good shorts. Couple good shorts from yesterday. Forgot to go over those. PDD, Pinduoduo dropped off nicely. Net, not as much. This wasn't a short, really. I wouldn't call it a short. I dropped off in the morning because the whole thing with Cloudflare. If you're on the internet, you know what happened yesterday. But that's just where even CTU was affected a little bit. Our live trading room, our website was down for a couple hours. That was early hours, though. We were back up and running by 7:30, so we were all set. So that means that, hey, if Cloudflare fixed their issue early, it was kind of like a nothing burger. It spiked back up a little bit. That's kind of all we had there. Now, something I do want to dip into before we go from top to bottom here is we actually had one of our gold students, Chuck, just asked me a question in private chat here just before, and I figure I go over it now because AMD was one of our trades of the day on the way down at first. This was a good short going into the open. But Chuck was asking, what are your thoughts on AMD? Looks like it's approaching a big level on the way down, around $224. If it falls that far, is there a huge gap on the daily from 202 down to 171? Do you think that's realistic? Let's find out. Well, I see that gap. That gap's hard to not see. So you technically do have a gap actually is low. If you want to be like a technical time-based gap trader, technically it's all the way down to 165 because it closed here and then opened up. But obviously you can treat this here as a potential resistance flipping into support. It can come down towards these highs there that Chuck's referring to, I believe. Let's focus on these wicks first. I would focus on those wicks first more than anything, just to see, especially around 212, 210-ish, if that could hold. If that breaks, then you're probably in deeper trouble there. But AMD is a good sideless stock. We've done very well on it on the way up, very well on it on the way down. For right now, it will remain on our side list here. Let's just go right from top to bottom, though, for the time being, see what we could add going into the market open, though. It's 9:11 in the morning. So SEMR, it's a buyout. So we're going to move forward from that, not waste our time on that stuff. KZIA is just making lower highs. So lower highs, lower lows. Give me a quick moment here. There you go. Trunks, good to have you on YouTube right now. Just checking the chat right now on our social media. Once again, down below at cybertradingu on social media. Got Trunks joining us there, as well as, of course, we appreciate you, late as always. All right, so what else we got here, though? KZIA, we're not going to fully commit to this just yet. If it pops, I'll call it out. If not, though, there's a reason why I'm not going to start off on it. Even the EPWK, this thing was moving up going into 8 o'clock here. Some news came out, obviously. Tried to bounce higher here, but it failed to flip resistance into support and continue. So that's the danger on this. It's still kind of making a higher low. It's got a good order book, so I don't mind just kind of putting it on the list for the time being. But EPWK, not to be confused with EPSM, two different stocks, obviously. SGBX, I think this thing had a little push yesterday. This is more in the after hours. This was at like 5 o'clock, 5:30 out of left field here. But it had a decent run up going into the late morning, early afternoon. Again, that's kind of where we made our money yesterday. And that's weird to say because market open, market close, traditionally that's your best time to be making your money, making your day's pay. Just it was one of those super dry mornings that we had, and we had to wait a bit. But SGBX was good. It's kind of holding up here. Another one I'll kind of add to the watch list for right now. SGBX, not to be confused with SGML. This thing's on the way down. Pass on that. VSIG, we are familiar with this stock, aren't we? We traded this thing pretty recently as well. You could see it doesn't look good, but this giant volume candle here, well, it gapped up. It gapped up from 179 all the way up to 353, meaning that it popped in the pre-market one morning and we traded it there. Well, it dumped all the way back down. It popped here just another day later afterward, or a couple days later afterwards here, and came back down just the next day. So this stock is unreliable. It's not some swing trade. This is just flavor of the day type stuff. But even here, this doesn't look good. I mean, it's technically up 12%, but it's probably because it popped here just going into the after hours, pulled back. If it wants to move up higher, I think it's going to take time for it to do so. So for right now, I'll pass. TMC, metals, I think, right? Rare earth metals companies getting a nice push yesterday. USAR had a nice squeeze. TMC moved up. So maybe those could be back in play once again. TMC, a little flat this morning, but had a good pop yesterday. It's holding pretty nicely for right now. The USAR was all right. It's up about 3.94% right now. We'll come back to it if we need to. CRML, same thing there. It's not up a whole ton, but it's noted. We'll come back to it. It's on our B list. It's on our side list. TMQ, another metals company, just kind of showing you these here for the time being. But yeah, the TMC seems to be the strongest. So that's the one that we're going to take the liking to. TMC. All right. What else we got? SMR, I think. ETF. We'll pass there. All right. Anything else, folks? Looking good on the way up. You just let me know first. MP did come out some news here just before. So let me get to my Benzinga Pro. We'll get to that here just in a bit. All right. So Benzinga Pro, we got the MP trade. They came out with some news earlier. I know that we posted it before. MP Materials partners with the U.S. Department of War to establish a joint venture with Saudi Arabian mining company Ma'aden to develop a rare earth refinery in the kingdom. So that's the news that came out. Pretty big news, at least, them partnering with Saudi. I know the Saudi just invested, or they didn't. It's not a fresh 1 trillion, I don't think, but they said that from their $600 billion commitment, they're now increasing it, right, to 1 trillion. I think that's what I heard. Let me know if I'm incorrect on that. But I think Saudi just yesterday committed up to now $1 trillion from 600 billion. Just so weird to say those numbers, billions and trillions. But MP, good pop this morning off news. A little expensive, but we like it. We'll add the MP trade back on our list. And dead, BCAB dead, U. Not the U trade, U, just singular U, not plural U. Moved up early in the morning, just kind of a spotty chart. We'll pass on it for right now. All right, let's see if there's anything looking just as good, if not better, on the loser side, folks. Once again, today should be kind of a more dry day once again. there is some news that came out as we just saw, but Nvidia earnings, right? That's what I'm waiting for. That's what everyone's waiting for. AGIO, not much waiting on this here for it to drop. So what happened on AGIO? I don't mind just going back to the well one more time with news. So they're trading lower after the company reported top line phase 3 results showing a meta pivot met a primary hemoglobin response endpoint, but did not achieve statistical significance on sickle cell pain crises. Geez. All right. So not a good headline, of course, down a lot going into the open. Phase 3, they were kind of nearing the end of the roadmap, likely on their drug, only to have it F up in the last minute. So, just to tell you here, that's not good news. Stock's down 50% off today. It's trading at 22. I think that could be, not all-time lows. That's not all-time lows. We do have some good support, just a little around 19-ish from here, probably 20-ish round up otherwise. If it breaks that, then you're talking all-time lows. Then you're talking 16, 17. So, yeah, for the open, interesting trade, short. And if it doesn't break any lower, then perhaps it's down enough and it could squeeze back up. But focus on the trend first. We like that trade, AGIO on the way down. All right, CSIQ taking a hit. EOS taking a small dip today. We like that stock going up normally. We got the target. Ooh, it broke. Target broke below that support, at least for right now. It tested it, broke through it. So I was preparing for this going into the morning meeting today. That's why I have this open right now. I'm at time and sales. Yeah, look at this. It looks like in just like one shot, bam, bought. See ya. I mean, it's selling pressure, but that person now owns those shares. So who's going to win this battle? For the time being, it seems like it's trying to sustain here as support. But the more this keeps getting attacked going into the market open, listen, if the S&P sneezes or blinks or coughs and this thing drops, I feel like it's going to be game over. So it's lucky to have even went under and over right here for the time being. But yeah, we got the target trade for right now going down. And otherwise, a decent watch list here going into the market open, folks. So I'll tell you what, I always flap my gums too long here. Let me know if anything else is looking good going into the open. EPWK still restricted on interactive brokers. Thomas with is an ETF there, Tom? MPL, is it cheaper? Yeah, it is. Cheaper ETF here for this one, MP. That's good to know. You know what? I'll add it to our list. I'm just not familiar with this one, Tom. Just make sure it has a good spread after the market opens. It doesn't have one right now, but just wait till after 9:30. You're going to see more volume likely fill in for this. And as long as it has a good spread, yeah, it's a good suggestion there. What else we got? Jerry, governments are preparing for a buildup. Defense and its military needs mining, so that could be interesting for, like we had said, MP. Jerry says yes, more so now is why I'm buying these defense ETFs. Okay, cool, Jerry. Which ETFs are you dipping into? Just let us know there in the chat. Just good to kind of keep on our side list for right now. TSLL, it's good side list ticker as always. Tesla, Nvidia, AMD, Coinbase. As long as they're trading good direction. So if you're someone in our room that does well on Tesla, much more often than not, you know who you are. I always like to say that. So for right now, I like our list for the time being. There we go. I'll pretty that up in just a moment, folks. So again, we're going to hop back to our live trading room just in a bit. So for Tim, just Tim joining us right now on YouTube, Tim Z, great to have you joining us, Tim. That SEMR is a buyout. Don't trade that thing. That's a buyout. It's not going to move. Popped up, news came out, flat. See ya. So, we teach that in our classes, right? It's very easy for me to say that, but it's also easy for students like Kathleen, Jerry, Grant, Lynn, and Randy, Michael, Uday, Nabil, Bruce, Tom, all of our members right now inside our live trading room to say that too. That's what we teach on a monthly basis. But otherwise, though, for Tim or for Trunks joining us on the YouTube here this morning, if you're interested in joining us here, just going forward consistently, day to day, week to week, a couple of different ways to stick along. So first and foremost, just hit the follow and subscribe button down below on YouTube. That will just keep you in the loop more so than anything. But otherwise, if you wanted to skip the queue, join us directly inside our room for the next 5.5, 6 hours here across the market day, just go right down to the bottom right there, just scrolling down below in blue, ct2.co/trial. Sign up for a week-long trial to our live trading floor. But otherwise, we'll catch you back there in just a bit. For all of our students right now, we'll be back on in just about